All right, guys, welcome back. Phil Rosengren here with BetterPitching.com, and today we are joined by a special guest. He is going to share with you guys some of his insights into the college baseball recruiting process, and he's a former college and pro baseball player himself, and also the co-founder of SportsForce, one of the leading college recruiting services, Andrew Beinbrink. Andrew, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Glad to be here, Phil.
Awesome. And Andrew, the whole college recruiting process has gotten a lot more complicated over the years. I know it is a big topic for the better pitching community, and really it's changed so much since I went through it. When you're talking about the rise of the internet and showcases and travel ball getting as big as it's gotten, when people ask me questions about the recruiting process, I try to give them sound advice based on my own experience. But really, what I try to do is kind of leverage and rely on guys like yourself who are much deeper into that world and can really help guys understand the ins and the outs and sort of be able to navigate that process. So it's really great having you here with us.
Yeah, my pleasure. You want me to just kind of get started on, really where the whole recruiting industry and where things are right now?
Yeah, what I want to do, I definitely want to dive into that. But first, I was just wondering if you could start off by just sharing with guys a little bit of your own experience playing ball. I know you played in college and in the pros. So maybe talk a little bit about that and then how that kind of led to what you're doing today with SportsForce and what that, how that came about.
Sure, not a problem. So yeah, in high school I was a three sport athlete: football, soccer, baseball. Baseball was just the one that I happened to be the most gifted in. Really focused on that. Was drafted out of high school by the Boston Red Sox. Almost very close to signing with them right out of high school. Even though I had a scholarship to go to Arizona State. My recruiting process was pretty fortunate. Started getting heavily recruited, the summer before my senior year, going through that area codes game. And, it was mainly Stanford, ASU, University of Arizona. And then really what it came down to was me finding the school that was the best all-around fit. So, from a baseball standpoint, wanted to stay in the Pac-10. Academically, wanted to study business in college, and then wanted to be part of a program that I felt would have a chance to, go to the College World Series and win a national championship. So, fast forward, I was at ASU for 4 years. Was fortunate, four-time All-American, and then was drafted again as a junior. Decided to go back for my senior year, graduate. Was drafted by Tampa Bay in the 7th round my senior year. Signed with them. And then played 6 years of professional baseball up to AAA with Tampa Bay in Texas.
What went into that process of going back for your senior year? That was just interesting to me that you mentioned it, because I did the same thing, but I know, it sometimes depends on your draft slot, what round you get drafted in. What kind of went into that process?
A variety of things. I think it was, the kind of the draft slot, the position was definitely something. The other thing was, I could go back as a senior, potentially improve my draft status, but also finish my degree, play another year at the college level. And it really just became late in the summer as I was making the decision, and I was like, I'm already going to miss the short season. I'm just going to go back to school, finish up my degree. I graduated as a senior, so but yeah, it was definitely a difficult decision. It wasn't just black and white.
No, I'm sure. Yeah, you're talking about a top program there that's got a shot every year, so it probably helped that decision a little bit, just knowing that you were going back and had a chance to fight for a championship.
Exactly. I love the whole team aspect of college baseball. Professional baseball, as you know, is quite a bit different than college ball. So that's just where I wanted to spend the next year of baseball, was just playing at a college level, and like you said, have a chance to go back to Omaha.
Nice. So then playing in the pros, you played there for many years. I think you got pretty close to the big leagues, right?
Yeah, I was up AAA with Tampa Bay and with Texas, and playing professional baseball is a lot different. It becomes more of a career, more of a job. One thing that I enjoyed about playing professional baseball was the camaraderie. Playing with players all over the world.
Right.
I thought was really cool, and then playing with the wood bat and doing that was cool.
I love that as a picture for sure.
Yeah.
My first year in the Cape Cod League facing wood bats was a nice experience, especially the way when we were playing, how aluminum bats were at the time was, night and day between what you face with a wood bat.
No doubt about it. But at the professional level, it wasn't as much of a focus on winning day in and day out that I was accustomed to in college. So actually, the level of intensity was a lot lower professional baseball than it was when I was playing college baseball, when we were playing against USC or UCLA or Stanford on a week to week basis.
Yeah, that's definitely one thing I think the guys I played with who played college ball probably understood differently than some of the guys who came right from high school, because it is that different environment where you're every game matters and the guys are into it on the top step from the beginning of the game. So yeah, playing college baseball is absolutely a great experience, on all levels. So maybe talk a little bit about how that then transitioned to what you're doing today, with SportsForce, and how that came about, getting into that business.
Sure. So just personal experience, realizing that going through the high school to college, and even the professional kind of recruiting and scouting process, realized that there were a lot of families that had no idea how this process works. A lot of friends of mine that weren't as heavily recruited out of high school that could have gone on to play college baseball, probably at a higher level, but just had parents that had never been through the process. So took kind of my passion for sports and my passion for helping student athletes and families, because I'd always been coaching and doing private lessons and camps. Just have a kind of an innate passion for helping others and doing it through sports, because I believe sports is such a powerful vehicle for student athletes to learn life lessons.
Absolutely.
And kind of took that passion and then applied that to, okay, now what could we do as a business, because I'm very entrepreneurial, and I love technology. So really, SportsForce applies kind of three main passions of mine, which is the power of sports, business, and then technology all into one organization. And really just said, let's focus on helping student athletes, find the college that's the best all-around fit, while helping their family maximize, their potential recruiting and scholarship opportunities.
Okay, very cool. So talking about the online recruiting services sort of industry, which was not something that even existed when I was going through it, so it's fairly new to me, or at least I don't have sort of the inside look at it for people. And I know I've kind of heard different things from different people. There are some good services out there. There are some bad services. So I'm sure you have a lot of confidence in what you guys are doing at SportsForce. But what, in your mind, separates the good services out there from the not so good?
Sure. A couple things, just right off the bat. Number one is the organization represented by former college, athletes and or coaches that have been there, done that, lived it and breathed it. So have that experience. Number two, do they have a track record of being successful with other families and other athletes that they can show you, kind of case studies, so to speak. But then a big one is, taking a personalized approach to evaluating each student athlete and family differently. Because you might have, let's say, a right-handed pitcher in Connecticut who throws, 84, 85, who's a junior, 3.8 GPA, families looking for him potentially to use baseball as a vehicle to get a great education. Finances is not that important. That's a complete different scenario, than another player, let's say a lefty who's, 78 to 70, to 80, as a junior as well, but maybe doesn't have the resources or financial capability that the other family has. How are they each going to be personally evaluated? And, so the way that we see the big differences is there's, services that are out there that are just, online websites where you post a profile and you never talk to anybody in the organization, and it's just completely on you to market yourself. Then there are, services that, you create an online profile, you sign up with them, they rely, on their technology to help match you up with college coaches, not, getting a clear understanding of you personally and your kind of family's athletic, academic, and financial goals.
Mm-hmm.
So those are some of the big differentiators. And I'd say one of the other ones is there are services that are out there that will, try to act as if you're an agent. Try to act as if they're an agent for you, which really can put you in that's going to jeopardize your NCAA eligibility status and amateurism status. If you're working with someone to be an agent and he's kind of shopping you to all these college coaches that they know, the NCAA is just come down really hard on that.
Sure.
In other sports, and it's going to happen with baseball as well. So if you're a family really looking to get some help in this process, number one, do they have the background as former athletes and college coaches? Number two, do they take a personalized evaluation of you and take that time? And then number three, do they have the success record and process that you're going to be comfortable with that's personalized to you and your family?
Okay, good stuff. And then just kind of talking about that, because I know a lot of people in the better pitching community are parents and players who are kind of at that stage where they're either early in high school or getting close to thinking about aggressively going after playing at the next level. But just looking at the statistics, it's so difficult. It's something like 2%, I think I've seen, that actually of the people who play high school baseball that actually are able to go on and play in college. And I'm sure of the people who think that they're going to play in college, there are probably some who are in that like 5% range that probably have the ability to get on to the next level, but maybe slip up somewhere in the process. So what do you think, in your experience, what's the biggest mistake, if you could pinpoint one thing? It could be a couple things if you want, but what's the biggest mistake that people make when it comes to the process?
Well, number one, let me explain. There's over 1,000 college baseball programs that are out there. There's just under 500,000 high school players. So yeah, very popular sport. The numbers are better than the percentages that you referenced.
Okay.
It's closer to about 8% of kids are playing at a junior college level or above.
Okay.
So the opportunity is definitely there, but the competition is there and big time as well. So a couple of the big mistakes that families are consistently making is they don't understand how early the process starts. So Division I programs are looking at the best freshmen and sophomores in the country, often making verbal scholarship offers as early as a sophomore year, but typically during the junior year. So just getting started early is good. Another big thing is, do you have to go to all these showcases and camps? And the answer is no.
Okay.
You really have to target, which camps, which showcases are going to provide, you or your child the best exposure to the right type of colleges that match, your evaluation of your athletic and academic profile.
Okay.
We see so many families just wasting money going to these camps or going to these showcases. And that goes right in line with, families think because they're getting emails or letters from college coaches that they're getting actively recruited. And those letters and emails for camp invites or just general, template letters, those are getting sent to hundreds, if not thousands, of other players around the country.
Okay.
So that does not mean you're getting actively recruited. And those are some of the big things that we've identified. I think it all goes back to an evaluation because the evaluation goes, okay, you're a freshman, here's where you're at. You're a sophomore, here's where you're at. You're a junior, here's where you're at. And with the right evaluation, you can get, properly kind of positioned to go, this is the right type of schools that make sense. Here's how we get to those schools to get evaluated. And here's the, ongoing advice, to help us maximize our recruiting and scholarship opportunities.
I think that's a good point, is just having like an accurate assessment, being able to start from a good position to really understand where you're at, what potential you have to get to that next level, so you can kind of target which programs might be best and then try to narrow it down from there. And actually, one thing you mentioned there about the showcases really kind of ties into something else I wanted to ask you about, because that's a question I get from people is the baseball, youth baseball has just gotten so expensive when you talk about the travel ball and then all these showcases like you mentioned, which, I'm sure there's some that are really top notch, but then, if you're going to multiple showcases a year, you're spending a lot of money there. And a lot of people don't have those financial resources. So, they may be, they're concerned that what advice would you give guys who maybe have kids who are, maybe have the ability to play at the next level, but they're just concerned that they don't have the financial resources to get them the right exposure?
Sure. Well, the beauty now, like you mentioned at the beginning, the internet and technology and video have become, such a big part of the whole recruiting process. So there's no excuse for any prospect anywhere in the world to not, get some exposure to a college coach by leveraging, the internet and some of the, technology resources and tools that are out there. So that's number one. Number two, I think it really comes down to, budgeting what your family can afford in this process. Because playing, coaching, all of this, equipment, all of this is an investment. But again, it goes back to that evaluation to go, how much time, energy, and money should we invest in this? And then where should we put our time, energy, and money toward? So cherry picking potentially a few camps or showcases is going to help you save, a lot of time and money. The other big thing is you try to qualify what level of interest is out there before you go to a showcase or camp. So you're not wasting, again, time and money just going to a camp hoping that you're going to get recruited. Because as we all know, college camps and these showcases have been huge money makers. And don't just be like every other family that just goes to these, like a kind of like the blind herd theory.
All right, good stuff. I just got one other thing I wanted to ask you about. I think you kind of touched about talking about getting that evaluation to help you really target where you're going. So just talking about that college target list, which I think is probably an area where a lot of people slip up in the process. So I know that was huge for me, and you've mentioned it yourself at the beginning there, how you were really targeting a certain location and the schools that had the good baseball programs along with what you wanted to do outside of baseball. And that's exactly what I went through, during the process. But I think people kind of sometimes miss, finding a good program for them that really matches up with what they're looking for in a college experience. So just what advice would you give guys who, as far as just the importance of developing that target list and how they can go about that?
Yeah, so again, kind of, let's say you've got a general evaluation of where you're at athletically, academically, you understand where the family's at financially. From there, your target list should really focus on schools that match up with the experience that you as a student athlete, foresee at the college level. So don't start thinking about, the actual schools. Start thinking about what's the experience. So then that's, what's the academic experience? What's the baseball experience? Where's it located? What does it cost? Does it have your major? Socially, is it a social school? Is it a big school, small school? Is it urban? Is it rural area? Those are the things that I think, walk through that Q&A and that criteria assessment to get an understanding of what is it that you're kind of looking for. And then from there, leveraging some college search tools to help you narrow down the level of schools, Division I, Division II, Division III, et cetera, where it's located. So then you start to put together a target list that includes, your dream schools, which typically recommend 5 to 10 dream schools, anywhere between 10 to 30 target schools, and 5 to 10 backup schools. And this is just an exercise. If you only get to, let's say, 10 to 15 total schools, and you have some dream schools and some target schools, that's a good start. Typically, we'll talk to a family, and the student athlete, the player, and the parents will have 3 to 5 schools in mind. And sometimes those schools are well beyond their capabilities based on the evaluation of what they should be considering. So it goes
to kind of ratchet down those expectation levels a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So the target list is a fundamental part of this process. And it's not as though these are all the schools that you would definitely be interested in going to if they started recruiting you. The goal is you get 5 or more schools interested in you at the same time during your recruiting process, like I did and probably you did, and you get leverage then in the recruiting process because you get more choices potentially. and you get potential better scholarship offers because more people are at the table. And I'll kind of, close out this whole college decision process by saying, as a family, this is not just a 4-year decision, for, your son in the recruiting process or their college decision. This is like a 40 or 50-year decision that's going to impact the rest of their life. And it's probably going to be quite an investment. Even if your kid gets a pretty good scholarship, there's still going to be money put into his college. So you just want to make the best possible decision, that you can.
Outstanding, awesome. Andrew, this has been great. Really appreciate you taking the time to be with us because you shared some really good information that I'm sure is going to help a lot of people out there. So I'm going to make sure that I get all of your details below the video on the website. But for guys who may be just listening to the interview, go ahead and tell them where they can go to get more information.
Sure, no problem. So yeah, it's the company is SportsForce Recruiting. So SportsForceRecruiting.com. Andrew Beinbrink is my name. The best number to reach, us is just our 888 number. So it's 888-978-7084. We got, we started this with baseball. Myself and a few of the other founders all played at the college, and many of us played at the professional level. So this is a passion of ours, and we will do that evaluation. And we don't work with every family that inquires about our program. So we have to go through an evaluation process, and we're just selective because we've had, such a good success rate of over 80%. Recruiting success rate.
Awesome. All right. Well, Andrew, it's been great. Really appreciate it again, and thanks so much for taking the time.
My pleasure. Have a good one, Phil.